Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Moynihan, Bank of America has a very strong presence in my district. So I've got half of the city of Boston. I share that with Ms. Presley, but I also have Quincy and Brockton. I just want to say, to your credit, we're trying to build or rebuild over 1,000 deeply affordable housing units in the city at Mary Ellen McCormick Housing Development, and one of the oldest public housing developments in the history of the country. And that will allow us not only to do thousands of deeply affordable units, but also workforce housing. So for people who are in the middle that seem to be priced out in our area. But I just want to thank you because Bank of America has, committed funding to that some time ago. But it's good work, and we appreciate it. I had a chance to sit with Michal Chamberlain, who represents you in our area, and I serve on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee here with Ms. Beatty, and I asked him about progress on our hiring goals within the city of Boston and Brockton and in my district. The numbers were much improved, but I'd like to hear you talk about the system more generally, not just in my district. And one area where I think we do need a lot more progress is that, as the chair mentioned, I chair the task force on fintech, and there is very little funding going to minority fintech principals in terms of pushing their projects forward. It's really it's deplorable in terms of, I think it's less than 5% of the money goes to minority heads of fintech firms, and so concerned about that, and so I'd like to hear about your efforts in both regards.
So on hiring, starting with who works for our company, women more than half the workforce, 49% diverse from the top of the company to the bottom. Managers, 42% women, 41% people of color. This is a 30-year effort of continuing to work and watch how all the hiring flows through to get to representation in society. And so the team's done a good job with that. In addition, we are committed to hire 10,000 people of all ethnicities from low and moderate income neighborhoods. We completed that. We said 5 years. We did it 3 years. We completed to do another 10,000. In addition to that, we're working on job initiatives in Boston and other cities where we try to get kids to come work for companies like ours and my colleagues' companies that are great companies that offer great benefits and great starting wages right out of high school, and do the training. Here's a job. Here's the training we need. Then we go to the community colleges and help them do it. Going to the question of funding, one of the things that we perceived as we looked at it was the exact point you made of the need to create equity in smaller sizes for women-owned businesses, African-American-owned and Black businesses, Asian, Hispanic, Latino. As we looked at that, the private equity funds weren't there. So we went out and found 100 private equity funds across the country. We committed $350 million to those funds. Other people have come in, and they've now funded almost 1,000 companies. So the entrepreneurs, the private equity people, for lack of a better term, are from those ethnicities, and the companies they invest in are owned by those ethnicities or gender. And that 1,000 companies didn't get funded in prior cycles because they were too small, hard to find, and all that stuff, and now it's happening. And we expect this program to build, and we have clients that come in and say, can we put money with us? That's good. My colleague companies have done similar things, but we're all trying to find a way to create the same opportunities seen in our companies outside our companies, and that's what we've been trying to do.
Very good. Let me ask, I know we had a series of questions before on Zelle, the whole payments piece of this, and I'm just trying to figure out how to get at some of the fraud. Is the lack of latency in that system, does that lend itself more to fraud because of the speed and finality of the transaction? Does that seem to be?
If I could jump in here.
Sure, please.
The traditional fraud in Zelle is minute. It's smaller than what we see in checking. It's 2 basis points across.
Let me just say, though, let me just interject. So it's not just, I'm just not talking about that instance. When we issued money through the CARES Act, through the Small Business Association Administration, 75% of the fraud on the money going out to people, it was emergency funding, and we had to get it out in a hurry. So part of the blame is with us. Yes. But 75% of that fraud is through digital lending and applications. So there's more to it.
You're hitting on very important points for our country, for our industry. Zelle is a closed network system. If there's a bad transaction between JP Morgan and ourselves, I can tell Jamie, he closes the account, it gets fixed. If it's outside the banking system in a fintech open system, it's invisible to us.
Yeah.
And that's where the scams occur. We have no regulation once it gets outside of the banking system.
Okay.
It needs fixed.
Madam Chair, thank you for your indulgence. I yield back. Thank you.